Hello, and welcome to AWAKEN, where we share insights to the connection between science and spirituality for self-discovery, joy, and freedom. I am your host and spiritual coach, Stephanie Rouch, and I'm here with Kim Chestney. It is such an honor to be with Kim, as she has been my teacher, one of my spiritual teachers, in really developing my own intuition over the last year and a half. And Kim is the founder of Intuition Lab and the author of 3 leading-edge intuition books: The Illumination Code, Radical Intuition, and The Psychic Workshop. She's also the founder of Intuition Lab, which is a global school for cultivating intuitive ability. And she is known for her unique contemporary perspective on intuition as quantum intelligence that explains life's deepest mysteries and will define the future of humanity. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette says that Kim is on the vanguard of movement to unearth the genius within. Such a pleasure to have you, Kim. Thank you for joining.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. It's great to be here.
So, Kim, tell us about your personal connection to integrating science and spirituality.
Yeah, well, it's funny. That's something that I stumbled onto young back when I was in college, and couldn't decide. I had this thirst to understand the world, and I ended up exploring physics and metaphysics, and you start to realize that when you go down that rabbit hole, they are kind of meeting at the same point now. So I really work right now at that intersection of science and spirituality every day, understanding spirituality as really our personal experience of many of the phenomenon that we see in in physics and in the scientific world. So my latest book, The Illumination Code, was really about understanding human intuition and psychic phenomenon, the supernatural, all of these mysteries that we can't explain, we now know are actually explained by quantum physics. So this new emerging thought suddenly gives new light to all of the great mysteries of the world. And when we understand that they're actually not woo-woo, they're not pie in the sky, these are actually real measurable phenomenon that we now have to look at through the lens of quantum physics, which we couldn't do 100 years ago. So it's a really exciting time to be alive as all of this stuff starts coming into the realm of possibility and reality.
Absolutely. And your work has been so meaningful for me because you really talk about these quantum shifts in our own understanding that are possible, and even culturally, because there is that evidence that's emerging and becoming more acceptable, but we still need leaders to bring it into the mainstream. And that's something that you've been doing and talking about and helping to teach other people to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree. I think it's really important to understand how all of those things manifest on a personal level. Like quantum physics and science isn't just something we learn about in the history books. It's something that affects us every day. That's part of our life every day, and it's actually really meaningful. So it's really exciting to see people coming out and saying, oh, this is how we can actually apply this to life. You don't need the particle accelerators and all that. We can just exist, and it's part of who we are.
Absolutely. And with intuition being such a passion of yours, when did you first feel that connection, and tell us about how your path has evolved to really making teaching intuition your purpose and career?
Yeah, so a lot of people who know me are going to know me from the work that I did in Pittsburgh with the Technology Council, being part of the tech community there for 20 years and starting to create festival and working with artists and innovators and entrepreneurs. And that time was really sort of the moment in my life when I realized that intuition actually had a very applicable facet in human life, right? I was working, I started seeing tech companies talking about intuition, why intuition is good when we're developing products, when we're growing our business, when we're marketing. All of these ideas are fueled, these new ideas, these innovative ideas are fueled by intuition. Intuition is part of really the whole fabric of our growth as humanity. So for me, growing up, I had a lot of quote unquote intuitive experiences, like old school intuitive experiences, psychic experiences, weird like supernatural experience, kind of like things moving around, doors closing. A lot of that stuff happened around me growing up, and I really sort of developed a thirst to understand what was happening. And it happened so much to me and my family members that for us, it wasn't something that we could just pretend that it didn't exist, right? Usually they're like, oh, it's just your imagination, just forget about that. Well, we couldn't. So I have this thirst in me pretty much my whole life to understand what was actually happening in metaphysical reality and how impossible things can happen, because they happen to me. I experienced them multiple times over and over again. How is this working? So I ended up minoring in physics in college. I had a philosophy minor, and I was writing, and all of this stuff came together to kind of form this person that I became, an artist as well, natural, intuitive flow, all of the artists, right? That's one of the ways that we still encourage intuition in society, is through the arts. So really fast forward, to the time I'm working at the Tech Council and realizing that now technology is getting on the intuition bandwagon. I decided to write Radical Intuition, and that was really the first book I think out there that really looked at intuition in a holistic perspective as something that is part of every single thing we do. We have an intuitive mind and we have a rational, logical mind, and they complement each other, but we can actually develop our intuitive mind and understand how to use it to really expand our sort of the bandwidth of our genius. And when you talk about intelligence, I mean, how smart we are. It's usually like, the side of our brain is rational, logical, deductive. We can sort of piece it together in a linear way. But the genius comes, and even great leaders throughout history, from Einstein, Tesla, all kinds of artists and musicians have attested that intuition is the key to genius. It's the knowing, it's the thought, the epiphany that arrives out of nowhere, right? And we get these ideas, these big ideas, these drop-ins, these sort of exciting new thoughts. That's what comes down out of our intuition, whereas our rational mind is really good at processing information and understanding things, but intuition is the secret. It's the genius. So that for me really was my push, that we really need to start embracing that and understanding that, and what's possible when we lean in to that intuitive potential.
Something that I have heard you say a lot when teaching about intuition, since I've had the benefit of learning from you, and it's as amazing as it seems in this interview for anyone watching, is you say quite a bit to tap into that part of you that knows everything, that we have this intuitive capacity where there's a part of us that knows everything. And to someone who may be brand new to really accepting their intuition, like they want to believe, I know that I have these intuitive capabilities, but I'm not really seeing it or feeling that it's accepted around me. How can you help them understand, yes, that is a real thing that's happening for you, your intuition is real, and there is a part of you that knows everything?
Yeah, absolutely. Because there still is a lot of resistance culturally to this idea of intuition. We've really been brainwashed and gaslit about intuition for centuries, right? There's power there, and we've been taught to ignore it, or that it doesn't exist, or that it's crazy. All of these things that really dissuade us from really owning that inner wisdom and that quantum intelligence that we all have. So everyone has it, not just women, everybody, we all have it. It's just an underdeveloped faculty that we really have just let atrophy. So I think this idea that a part of us that knows everything is really powerful when we realize that we are connected on a quantum level to all the information in the universe. And back in the old days, we might call it your higher self, or, we had terms that sort of helped us to symbolically understand what was going on with intuition when we didn't have the science. So part of what I do in my job is really to translate these sort of outdated terms of spirituality into a modern context where we can understand what's really going on in society with our intuition. There is a very real dimension of our personality and our mind that connects on a quantum level with all of the information stored in the quantum field. And we now know that there is an interconnected field of energy and information that surrounds all things and is part of all things and embedded in all things. And it's that quantum field that our intuition has access to. So it's possible to do impossible things with our intuition. Now we understand why, because there's this part of us that knows everything, that moves into this space that's beyond time, that's beyond linear space, and is able to tap into all of the information in the universe. We just have to learn how to use it and draw it down. It's just like the internet, right? It's like there's a whole cloud of information out there and we just can dial it in and pull it down, right? Just because we don't have it on our local hard drive doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? So it's like I said, 50 years, 100 years ago, no, we didn't understand computers or networking or the cloud or any of that stuff. But now we see there's actually really good metaphors and analogies for this kind of thing in the technology that we're creating. So at an energetic level, we are like those computers that can tap into that ever-present field of information and wisdom and learn from it and let it guide us and find the answers that we're looking for and feel our way through in a way that our rational thinking mind is simply unable to do. Our mind can only take us so far. We can get so smart, right? And then all the computers and the AI and they're taking over and they're doing all that stuff. But to this point, this connection to that genius, that those insights that arrive out of nowhere from that quantum field, that is distinctly human as of right now. And to me is the secret sauce of where we need to be putting our energy and understanding how we can tap into that more.
Mm. And for people who are watching this and wondering, like, okay, maybe that's true for my creative friends that I know, or for the people who like seem to be really connected to others empathically, but like that's not really me. What would you say to those people?
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those people. Like, even though I had all this stuff happening to me, I really I didn't really know how to control my intuition or develop it. And then I started going to intuitive development classes back when I was in my 30s. And all of a sudden, like, oh, wait, anybody can do that? Anybody. It was like a big revelation back in like the 70s that psychics aren't just this like strange breed of people that are just born with superpowers. No, it's you're able to develop this and learn it. The problem is no one goes to school for intuition. We go to school and we learn how to do math and the alphabet and all this brain thinking, but we're the intuitive side, right? The best we still have are the arts, right? We have the arts and they're just barely squeaking by, but no one teaches us to think with our intuitive mind. We don't even know how that thing works. So most of us feel like we don't have it, right? And so the time has come for us to realize that we do have it. Everyone has it. And we've experienced in those little moments of serendipity, synchronicity, like when you pick up the phone and your friend, you go to call a friend and they happen to call you at the same time. Well, that's not coincidence, right? There's a part of you that knows everything and it tapped in on some level to the part of them that knows everything. And you thought of each other at the same time, or one person thought of the other person. And before you could even talk about it, you were connected. And that kind of stuff happens in so many different levels, shows that interconnectivity, and you have ideas will pop into your head. You think, oh, maybe I should go do this. And you find out that your partner went and did the same thing because you're thinking the same thing, because we're all connected through this vast network of intuition that functions on a superconscious level, not subconscious. It's not beneath us. It's not something that's buried. It's something that's higher and something we can expand into. And the more we learn to adjust our vibration and get into the headspace where we can access this kind of intuitive data, the more data we receive. We really have to open our bandwidth. We have to calm down, quiet our minds, right? It can't get through. These kind of signals can't get through when we're busy, running around like maniacs, like we all are most of the time in today in this culture, right? So we put down our phones, we close down, create that white space on our calendar. The time that you're doing nothing, like Einstein said, when you're aimless, sitting on his rocking chair, those thoughts that drop in, those are nuggets of gold. The tech companies know that. That's why they built in their free Fridays where nobody did anything. It's just time to create and ideate and all of that stuff. Because we realize when you're busy doing, you shut off those valves so you can't get those real insights that are actually really essential in innovating and really putting yourself out in front in terms of leadership and being visionary. Intuition is right there. It is at the core of all those things that we need to move society forward and to solve our problems globally. So there's so much there to unpack. I can talk extensively about it, but the short answer is everyone has intuition. And if you read either of my books, actually any of my books, what I do in every book, they're not just talking books, it's doing books. Do it, practice it, experience it for yourself. Get out. There's no other way you're going to believe until you experience yourself. So what I do is I teach people to go out there and get these intuitive hits and validations so they can start to build their trust in their own intuition. Because until you trust your own intuition, you're never going to live by it. You're never actually going to use it to its full potential in your life.
That is so fantastic. And so I know that there are those exercises there in the books, Radical Intuition and the Illumination Code. And then you also teach through the Intuition Lab and the Shift Network. What are some of the things that are possible for people when they do develop their intuition?
So much, so much. And it affects everything from your personal relationships to your health, to your career, to your happiness, right? So what intuition's job personally for you and really globally is to help us all to expand into higher awareness and understanding of who we are, what we're meant to do on this planet, what we are, human beings, the mystery, what's it all about? Our intuition's leading us to those answers and how we can better serve each other and create a better global environment for all of us to live in, right? So that's sort of, you see intuition, it's like your best friend. It's trying to show you the best way forward at all times, right? No matter like how bad things get, intuition's always there, trying to get us back on that true north. So once we start to listen to that intuition, it supports us in every way, right? Whether we can be more empathetic with our partners and the people around us, and we have better relationships because we have a deeper, honest, authentic connection with people. It helps us understand our bodies if we're dealing with sickness or imbalance, or our intuition can help us eat the right food. It can help us to find the right doctors. It can help us to get an idea of what's going on within us on a physical level and heal. It can help us so much in our jobs, in our work, in our creative power, whether we're building businesses or creating art or going out there and changing the world. Intuition is visionary, and it calls us all forward to our calling and our path and our purpose and aligns us with it. And then ultimately, all of that is leading up to one thing, which is helping us to live our truths and be more aligned and ultimately happier and more satisfied and finding more peace and more power in our life every day. So I always joke and say, I have the most important job in the world. I teach people to trust their intuition. And I really believe that because it all starts from there. No matter if you're a CEO or if you're a parent or wherever you're putting your energy on a daily basis, if you're living by your intuition, if you're trusting your intuition, if you're hearing that crystal clear inner voice, you can't go wrong.
Are you willing to give us a brief taster on how to connect in with your intuition?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so the cards, we're sort of creating these cards was my life dream. I'm an artist. I designed them myself to create an intuition development tool that allows you to start a conversation with that part of you that knows everything. So it's different than like oracles or tarot cards. These cards help you to develop your own intuition and start to learn your inner voice and how the universe sort of speaks to you in your own unique way. So do you want me to share my screen? I can share the screen.
That'd be great. Yes, that'd be fantastic.
Great. There we go. We've got it.
Got it.
All right. So these are called insight cards, and you can find them on my website. They're free, and you can use them anytime. Just bookmark the page. And the idea is you use these cards and you let your intuition sort of speak to you and unravel a message from the card. So when you turn over the card, you're going to go to the first thing you see on the card. Instead of trying to figure it out, normally we'd pick a card and we'd be like, oh, what does this card mean? And you'd use your mind, your rational mind to figure it out. But this is different. We're going to turn it over and we're going to go to the first thing we notice, because there's one thing about intuition. We know it comes in fast. Trust your first impressions. So you'll just go to the first little thing you notice on the card. And that becomes your point of departure. It's a symbolic message that will unwind through resonance as you go through the card. So this really plays on this idea of information and energy that we download from the field, that we receive from our intuitive dimension. We receive information as drop-ins, first impressions. For example, intuition is really deeply tied to things you notice. Like if you're somebody who happens to notice patterns, or like 111 on the clock, or certain symbols on the highway when you're driving, your intuition gets drawn to these things at just the right time to see them. That's not a coincidence. You were drawn there, led there to see those things by your intuition. And it works in so many different ways that way. It's that first insight, that sudden knowing. Intuition is fast. It gets in there even before your thinking mind. So we want to go to that first impression. And then after the first impression, we move into resonance. And that's sort of our heart energy, right? We start with our mind, the information and data that drops in. And then we follow that heart energy to use that sense of resonance to unwind a message or to get deeper insight and feelings. And we use this process every day. Like think about the first time you meet somebody new. And say you meet a stranger for the first time, and all your friends love this stranger. They think they're great. And you're the first thought you think of when you see him is, I don't like him. It just comes in your mind, and you know why. You're like, nope. Something's not right here. But they say all the right things. They wear all the right clothes. They know all the right people, right? But they're inside. There's something that's still not sitting with you. Well, that first impression was the part of you that knows everything probably knows what's really going on with that person on a level that we can't prove or can't see, at first glance. And then resonance is when, you start interacting with them. And even though they're saying all these right things, something feels off, right? You can't get into resonance with a person. You're in a state of dissonance with them. Right. So by not feeling the resonance, something's not right. Your intuition is communicating something's not right. And this is so helpful. It can save lives when you're in situations with strangers and people are trying to bamboozle you and trying to really gaslight you. Right. Your intuition's there telling you something's not right. Something's not right. So it's really important that you listen to these things when you feel them. But on the other hand, if you meet someone and you're like, I love them the first time you meet them, and then you just click the first time and you just like a house on fire when you hang out, you're in all of this resonance. That's your intuition bringing you together, aligning you with someone who's good for you and who'll help you and feed your soul. So that's just an example of how it works in our lives. Now, these cards provide a sort of metaphor for how that works in real life. So we practice with the cards so that when the real life situation comes, we know what it feels like and we know how to proceed. So to do this, we can just sort of set our intention, and we can all practice. Anyone can practice and get a message right now from home. So I just say, if you're watching this, just take a moment and just kind of think of something that you're looking for guidance for right now in your life. Something you might not be stuck in making a decision. There might be an area of confusion in your life you're not sure about. You might need some direction. Whatever that is, just take a minute and just set an intention to receive some guidance. Ask, I'd like to get some guidance on this today. And then just take a deep breath. Just want to open space. It's that silence, that stillness. That's where the intuition can drop in. So we'll just quiet our minds and take a deep breath. And I'm going to turn over the card. And when I do, notice the first thing you see on the card as a symbol that conveys information about the guidance that you're looking for. And then just let your eyes move around the card and let the card speak to you. And see if it doesn't tell you something and give you a piece of guidance about your question. Now, Steph, did you do this? Did you practice along with us?
I did. I did. And
You want to talk about it with them, maybe help them unpack
I
it a little?
I would love to. I am so grateful for this poll right now because I have been really creating a lot of meditations and I want to share them and asked like what is a way that I want to package and share what I have to offer with people in a way that makes sense. Like, how do I move forward? Because I could go in a dozen different directions. And I really, right away from this card, there's this beautiful circle and communal element. So there was right away a message of in a way that builds community. And with the clocks in the corners, that was another thing, just about not rushing into it, the whole conversation that we've had, and letting the timing flow. And there's a spiral nature with the card too. So that goes along with the time of like letting there be a dance and a flow so that really I'm not forcing any outcome, but kind of checking my own energy and intention around it at any given moment.
Beautiful. Yeah, that was perfect, right? And that's exactly how it works. You just sort of see what you're drawn to, that circle of community, and then move around. You see the clocks and the timing, and it's so cool how it starts to sort of just speak to you and unwind this message. And just so you know, none of these cards have any intrinsic meaning. Okay, there won't be any numbers, there won't be any words. All of it is designed to speak to your intuition, because each of us have our own unique intuitive language. So these cards, we could all be looking at this card now and have so many different responses and intuitive reactions from them. And what's really cool with Intuition Lab is how we get validations, just so you know you're not making it up, right? You're like, oh yeah, I could have just been making that up. Then we do exchanges with each other, and Stephanie would do one for me and I would do one for Stephanie. And you end up having all these cool things happening. We pull the same cards over and over again. We end up getting the same messages, and you're able to use your intuition to share things with other people that you had no way of knowing. So all of this magic comes alive when you start to work with these cards. So even if you start working with them at home and you like pull one every day, you'll start to see themes and patterns emerging. So it's a really wonderful way to engage this sort of universal magic on a really personal level.
Fantastic. So in addition to these cards, Kim also is sharing with the audience of Awaken in it's an Awaken Empower Your Intuition 12-page guidebook. And this is such a beautiful complement to the card deck. So you can, after watching this interview, dive right into your own practice. And then Kim, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they find you?
Yeah, you can check out my website, kimchestney.com, or you can visit intuition-lab.com. We have workshops, we have self-study programs, we have live retreats, we have all kinds of great ways to get started. So there's a lot of free stuff out there. If you sign up for my mailing list, I just put out like free tips every week. So there's really a lot of opportunity to engage and practice, and the cards are a great way to start.
Thank you so much for sharing all of your beautiful energy and knowledge and culmination of passion around intuition. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you for tuning in to this amazing interview as part of our Awaken series. I hope you found value. Check out the rest of the interviews on Awaken. Keep tuning in, and please subscribe to Paradigm Expansions to stay in touch, where we are doing more events like this, and we are all about dropping in to your heart, to your true self, to really, truly love your life. Thank you for joining. See you on the next video.